Hi everybody, this is Katje and welcome to my YouTube channel. This evening, it's raining here in the desert. We finally entered our monsoon season, so we're receiving some much needed rain. Tonight I'm also wearing this kind of retro 60s dress that I purchased at White and Black Market, and I also am wearing my Calvin Klein high heels. I have my Kate Spade matching purse here. So I kind of put together this outfit to kind of have a retro feel. So let me model that look for you briefly. Here are the heels and the black hose to complement the ensemble. And yes, it's fun. I like it very much. Here's the purse that I have. And I'm also wearing some Laura Gilner eyeshadow to go with this look, so I kind of wanted to cultivate a kind of urban look this evening. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to read another koan for you. This is also from Muman, the great Zen master that I discussed a couple of times ago. So this is another koan that I thought that you would enjoy. It's also a very famous one. So what I'm going to do is I want to read the koan for you, and then I'd like to maybe not comment on all of it, but I would like to just address some of the points that seem to stand out to me. So let me get the koan. Again, this comes from The Gateless Gate, which is this very famous collection of koans by the Zen master Muman. And the name of this koan it's called Hayakujo's Fox. So that's the name of the koan. So let me just adjust my screen here quickly, and then I'll read the koan, and then I want to say a few things about it to try to provide some illumination, some insight into it, I think. Once, when Hayakujo delivered some Zen lectures, an old man attended them, unseen by the monks. At the end of each talk, when the monks left, so did he. But one day he remained after they had gone, and Hayakujo asked him, "Who are you?" The old man replied, "I am not a human being, but I was a human being when the Kashyapa Buddha preached in this world. I was a Zen master and lived on the mountain. At that time, one of my students asked me whether or not the enlightened man is subject to the law of causation. I answered him, the enlightened man is not subject to the law of causation. For this answer, evidencing a clinging to absoluteness, I became a fox for 500 rebirths, and I am still a fox. Will you save me from this condition with your Zen words and let me get out of a fox's body? Now may I ask you, is the enlightened man subject to the law of causation?" Hayakujo said, "The enlightened man is one with the law of causation." At the words of Hayakujo, the old man was enlightened. "I am emancipated," he said, paying homage with a deep bow. "I am no more a fox, but I have to leave my body in my dwelling place behind the mountain. Please perform my funeral as a monk." Then he disappeared. The next day, Hayakujo gave an order through the chief monk to prepare to attend the funeral of a monk. No one was sick in the infirmary, wondered the monks. What does our teacher mean? After dinner, Hayakujo led the monks out and around the mountain. In a cave with his staff, he poked out the corpse of an old fox and then performed the ceremony of cremation. That evening, Hayakujo gave a talk to the monks and told them the story about the law of causation. Now, Obaku, upon hearing the story, asked Hayakujo, "I understand that a long time ago, because a certain person gave a wrong Zen answer, he became a fox for 500 rebirths. Now I want to ask, if some modern master is asked many questions and he always gives the right answer, what will become of him?" Hayakujo said, "You come here near me and I will tell you." Obaku went near Hayakujo and slapped the teacher's face with his hand, for he knew this was the answer his teacher intended to give him. Hayakujo clapped his hands and laughed at this discernment. I thought a Persian had a red beard, he said, and now I know a Persian who has a red beard. Now the koan ends with Mumon's comment. The enlightened man is not subject. How can this answer make the monk a fox? The enlightened man is one with the law of causation. How can this answer make the fox emancipated? To understand this clearly, one has to have just one eye, controlled or not controlled. The same dice shows two faces, not controlled or controlled. Both are a grievous error. Now, what's going on in this koan? If we were to meditate on this in a Zen fashion, what could we maybe glean or learn from this koan? Now, I think that the central episode in this koan is when the teacher, Hayakujo, is talking to the monks in the evening, and the Obaku comes up to him and asks him this, or he asks him this question, and then Hayakujo asks the other monk to come up to him, intending to slap Obaku, but then Obaku slaps the master, and so there's like this unexpected anticipation of what the master is going to do. Now the key words here, it seems to me, the engine that's driving this koan is this business about controlled or not controlled. Who's in control and who is not in control? So let's get clear about that, and then let's look at the two questions that Mumon asks about the enlightened man is not subject to the law of causation. How can that cause somebody to be reborn as a fox 500 times? And then how can the other one, the enlightened man is one with the law of causation, how can that emancipate someone from being a fox trapped in the cycle of rebirth? So what about the control or the not control? Well, let's go back to the situation where the master calls the other monk up and intending to slap him, and then unexpectedly the other monk slaps him because he already guessed what the master is going to do. Now, who is in control here? If suppose that we were obsessed with the question, well, who is in control here? Who is the really enlightened person in this exchange where the one monk anticipates the other one and slaps him? Is it the master? You could say, well, look, maybe he's in control because if he hadn't intended to slap the other monk, then the other monk would not have anticipated it and sort of cut him off at the pass and slapped him first. So maybe it's, the Hayakujo who's in control, or no, maybe it's the other one. Maybe it's Obaku, maybe he's in control because actually he anticipates what the master is going to do and sort of pulls the rug out from under him. But he couldn't have done that without the master's help, but the master couldn't have done anything or anticipated or come to this insight without the other monk's help. And you see what happens? We get tangled up in this knot of, well, who's in control and who's not in control? Who is enlightened and who is not enlightened? And the problem is that when the koan talks about the cycle of being reborn or trapped in the cycle of rebirth as a fox 500 times, well, that's like being trapped in this question, who's in control and who's not in control, where we insist on the fact that, well, somebody has to be in control of this situation. And there isn't any real answer. You find yourself trapped in an endless loop, in a kind of a riddle, and 500 is just an arbitrarily large number. It indicates indefinitely many times, because you could find yourself asking, well, who's in control in this? The master monk or the monk who comes up to him, over and over and over again without any clear answer. So for that reason, when we could say to Mumon's first question, the enlightened man is not subject. How can this answer make the monk a fox? Well, when you say that the enlightened man is not subject, presumably that means he's in control. He's not subject to anything. He's not subject to the law of causation, so he's in control. And assuming that somebody is in control, in the central episode of the koan, the engine, where the one monk anticipates the other one and slaps him, that gets us stuck in this endless cycle. And so the answer to that would be, well, a fox is a dumb animal and you should know better. There's nobody in control. If you insist on saying that the enlightened man is not subject and so he's in control, you're doomed. You're stuck in this cycle of this riddle or the endless rebirths, and that's not going to work. Now, what about the other question that Muhammad asks? This is, the enlightened man is one with the law of causation. How can this answer make the fox emancipated? Well, if somebody is one with the law of causation, that means they're just part of it. And think about that for a minute. Both the master monk, Hayakujo, and the monk who comes up and slaps him, Obaku, both of those people are, let's suppose they are one with the law of causation. That means that they are firmly embedded within causality. And so each one of them is both cause and effect. And when you look at that, then there isn't any problem. Because the master monk is certainly a cause, but he's also an effect because he couldn't do that unless, and he couldn't have reached this kind of enlightenment unless the other monk came up and slapped him. So the other monk is both a cause and effect. And everything that occurs within a causal series that sort of has no beginning and no end is both the cause and effect, and is both kind of, it really doesn't make sense to say that it's in control or not in control. It's just part of the causal law of causation. And so once again, the person doesn't become trapped in this endless cycle of determining who's in control, because the whole question of whether a cause or an effect in an endless series of causes and effects is in control doesn't even arise. And so that could free somebody from asking about that central episode in the koan where Obaku slaps the Hayakujo by insisting or being obsessed about who's in control. Well, stop thinking about that. No one of them is any more in control or any less in control than the other, because they're both cause and effect. They are both firmly embedded in the law of causation because they're one with it. Now finally, and let's end our reflections with this. When at the end of the koan, or almost at the end, when Hayakujo claps his hands and laughs at the other monk's discernment and says, "I thought a Persian had a red beard, and now I know a Persian who has a red beard." Well, what could that possibly mean? Well, remember that it was Hayakujo who freed the fox from being trapped in this cycle of rebirth by saying, well, look, the enlightened man is one with the law of causation. That's what Hayakujo did. Now, that was something that Hayakujo thought. He wasn't really experiencing anything. He wasn't really, he was just sort of giving Zen words, Zen thoughts that happened to be very helpful in freeing somebody from the obsessive questioning about who's in control in the episode of enlightenment, where there are equally good reasons to think that one or both or neither is in control. So that was just a thought that the Zen master had. But when the other monk slaps him, then it's no longer just a thought. He actually undergoes the very experience that we've been talking about. He actually then literally becomes one along with the other monk. They both become one with the law of causation because they both are equally embedded within the law of causation, within the causal series, where each one of them is both cause and effect of enlightenment. And so one of them is no more or less enlightened than the other. And so, but then it actually happens. And so that's when the Zen master in the koan advances from simply thinking about enlightenment in a helpful way to becoming enlightened because he's actually slapped and he actually gets a red face, and then he laughs at the discernment because now what he's been thinking about has actually happened through the surprising action of the other monk, which was set into, in some way, made possible by the Zen master's own discernment or potential discernment and his intention to slap the monk. So you can see that this is a very complicated koan, and there's a lot going on in it, but the more you meditate about it, the more you think about it, the more you can find yourself sort of getting back into this feeling that I described in connection with the other koan from Muhammad I discussed. It's a kind of calmness, a kind of freedom from obsessive reflection and trying to figure out, well, who's in control. You sort of even out and you feel calm and collected, and then maybe at some point something will happen to you, like what happens to the Zen master in the story of the fox, and you may become actually enlightened, not just think about it, but you become that. So that's what I wanted to talk about this evening, and I hope that you found it interesting. I think it's a really neat practice just to sort of think about these koans. It can be very informative, but as I just said, it can also be very relaxing. So I wanted to share that with you this evening, as well as my outfit. I hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to making some more videos, maybe about koans, maybe about some other things, maybe in about a week or so. But until then, this is Katje. I thank everybody for joining me. Thank you for your patience. And I wish everybody, as always, a restful and a peaceful and a safe good night. Be good to each other and take care of yourselves. Thanks again for joining me. Bye.